Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into Pixel Rich Games, where we strive and make it super hard, super fun. In this episode of Elden Ring, we have another build vid, and again, I'm really excited to share this buff stack build that hits like a truck. We're building around an int armament called the Dark Moon Greatsword. If you watch the anime Bleach and know who Ichigo is, this build is all about Before we get into more details, let me just go through my shameless plug. Give your boy some support by subscribing to the channel and liking this video to get YouTube's algorithm to promote this channel. Back to the Dark Moon Greatsword. This armament is unique and special at the same time. This armament comes with a skill, Moonlight Greatsword, and the way this works is like a weapon buff, basically buffing itself. The weapon glows once the buff is active, and this is where the madness begins. When this lights up, R2 or Shift plus left click for PC gamers like myself becomes a 0 FP cost Getsuga Tenshu firing attack. So aside from the FP cost to cast the buff, all we need is stamina to keep firing this beautiful attack to own everything. Another thing that makes this weapon special is it scales primarily with int. It peaks at B stat scaling at +4, and then strength and dex are the secondary stats, and both are stuck at D scaling. Though we're not really building towards frost, it's good to know that this also has a 55 frost buildup for additional damage. I chose to play this ranged with Getsuga Tenshu and smack someone close when I feel like it. That said, let me share how we pile up buffs to make this ability even better. Let's look at the talismans first. Since we're building around a weapon ability, our first slot goes to the Shard of Alexander that boosts the attack power of skills by 15%. Then we have the Magic Scorpion Charm that increases magic damage by 12%. Downside is this also increases physical damage taken by 10%, but for this build, this really doesn't count for much. For the third, we have GODFREY icon that raises the attack power of charged skills and spells by another 15%. Yeah, Getsuga Tenshu is chargeable and benefits from GODFREY. And for the last slot, we run the Ritual Sword Talisman that raises attack power by 10% when we are at max HP. With just these 4 talismans, we already have a total of 52% damage buff, and we are far from done. You can get 3 out of 4 of these easy, and while you're working your way to get them all, the Green Turtle Talisman is still a very good option for this build. This talisman increases stamina recovery by 15%, and our weapon's main resource is stamina. Helps a lot in spacing and recovering stamina for our attacks. Now let's pick the right armor for this build. Unlike most of my build vids, this one has very specific needs, and that's why we turn to the SPELLBLADE set. This is a 4-piece set, and each piece gives a 2% magic and cold damage increase to skills and Ashes of War. Usually, only the headpiece will give a bonus like this, so we're kinda inclined to really take advantage of going with this set. So that's an additional 8% from the set. Add that to 52% from the talismans, we're now at 60% damage increase. Okay, let's go to our flask setup. The first tier that's essential to the build is the Magic Shrouding Crack tier that gives us another 20% magic damage increase for 3 solid minutes. For the second tier, we have 2 good options to pick from. The first one is the most basic of them all, the Crimson Crystal tier that restores half of our max HP. The reason that this is a good option is because of our Ritual Sword Talisman. This gives us a faster setup pre-fight. If you don't mind just using a health potion or would rather get more usable value in the fight, Greenburst Crystal tier is the way to go. This gives us a 33% increased stamina recovery for 3 minutes. Works really well on its own, but does complement the Green Turtle Talisman. So, including the Physique Flask, we're now at 80% damage buff. And we still have 2 buff spells to go. Since this build's primary stat is Int, plus the fact that this is technically a range build, it makes perfect sense to use TERRA Magica. This buff spell creates a magic zone around the caster, and when we cast magic spells in this area, we get another 35% damage buff, and this spell lasts for 30 seconds. To squeeze in another 15%, we invest 25 points in a Faith to unlock Golden Vow. This isn't as big as TERRA Magica, and it's a pretty hefty investment because we have to go out of our way and work on Faith, but this buff lasts much longer than TERRA Magica at 80 seconds. Plus the fact that this doesn't have the same restriction in positioning. So all things considered, this is definitely worth the investment. So now we are fully stacked and ready to own at 130% damage buff. Finally, we get to talk about stats. Again, we primarily invest in intelligence. Vigor is our next priority, and 50 is a good number to aim for. If you really want to push it, you can aim for 60, but don't go over it because doing so will just waste your stat points. Next is to aim for 25 Faith. This is the next step to push our damage to the last step. Strength and Dex also contribute to damage, so together with Endurance, these 3 come after getting 25 Faith. Even if this is an Int build, Mind doesn't really play a big role here since Getsuga Tenshu costs 0 FP. If you want to cast a summon that costs a lot, like Dung Eater Puppet, you can either invest the points into Mind or run the Cerulean Hidden tier in your Flask setup to eliminate FP consumption for 15 seconds. Alright, that's it for me in this episode. I hope you find this guide useful. Thanks again for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video to see more content on Elden Ring. Hit that bell to get notified whenever I have a new vid out. See you on the next one. Stay healthy, keep safe, and God bless us all.